One Up Live, a Club Nokia is brought to you by the Nokia Astound.
All right, welcome back. We are here with John and Shahan, who are working on Sound Shapes, which is, I guess, the reason we're having them here is this is my underdog game of shows. This is the game we gave, some other big games are very obvious. Everyone likes to vote for those, but for me, Sound Shapes is the one that stood out as the game that people should be paying attention to that maybe they aren't. So. Give me the background, because so this is a Vita game. It's a 2D platformer, but it plays music kind of as you collect the dots, kind of in a res sort of way. But what I'm curious about is it's on Vita, but where did it start in development? Because you've been working on this for like 3 or 4 years, right?
Jesus, here we go. Are we allowed swearing on this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, we started collaborating 4 years ago, after Everyday Shooter. Basically, I met Shahan, and. We just started out doing like visualizers for his shows. And then we worked on, we got a grant from the government. And we started working on prototypes. So I don't actually remember what the original question was.
Well, how did this game come to be? Like, where did it start?
Okay. That was
Describe the secret backstory of it.
The secret backstory is we made 8 different, basically, games of varying coolness, but it never hit upon like the amount of musical interaction that we wanted to give the player. We didn't want to do something where the player was just playing back, like a song that someone else created. Rather, we wanted to give players a way to make their own music. And so it was just 2 years of figuring that out, figuring out how to work with each other, that kind of thing.
Okay, so this was just one of the 8, and then did you pitch all 8 to Sony, and they were like,
No, we sort of trashed all 8, and then 2 years ago, we made another prototype, which we showed to Sony.
Okay.
And that was Sound Shapes.
Okay, so was it always meant for Vita? Had you even heard of Vita at the time?
No.
Okay, so
you were just working on PC and Mac in our basements, basically.
Were you imagining it as like a PSP game, or?
I don't think I had any platform in mind. It was just making this game and then seeing where it goes.
Okay. So you pitched it to them, and then they were like, hey, we've got this thing we should show you.
Yeah, and they flew us down, and they're like, so what do you think? Sound Shapes, Vita, can it work? And we're like, I don't know, give it a shot. And that was that. But I think it actually is a good fit, right? Like the touchscreen and that.
Yeah. I mean, like in terms of like, the kind of stuff we're trying to do with the editor, which is, basically to make it not feel like you're going through tons of menus and stuff. We don't want it to feel like you're like operating some kind of software. We want it to feel really tactile, almost like you're playing an instrument as you're making the levels. So, I mean, obviously things like the touch, front and back touch screens and things like that are really helpful because, people can just like take their hand and put it on the thing, and all of a sudden you've got some music. You know what I mean? And so it's really like more of a connection to like physically what you're doing, which I think is a lot cooler than scrolling through endless whatever UI.
Yeah. So let's go back to your first question. Who do you want to curse out?
No, I just needed to know if I needed to.
There's no one on the publisher side that canceled your game halfway through, and now you have a vendetta against?
No, not really. Okay. I'm not going to get into that. But there isn't really.
Yeah.
Nice try, though.
Of course. So, I mean, this game is, what confused me about it, before I had played it, I had heard about it, and it's, when you refer to it as like a musical platformer and like a music creation software, I think people might not understand that structurally it's kind of like Little Big Planet, in that half of it is an actual platformer that you don't have to think about any kind of user creation stuff, and then half of it is entirely music creation. So kind of, do you think it's hard to market it because of that?
I think so. Like, I think that's why it's taken so long to get here, is that there's really nothing else like it. Like, actually, we didn't even think about that until a few weeks ago. We realized there's actually no game out there where you can make music with it and then it's instantly a level. It's just, and then when you try to explain it, like, I think there were a lot of games in the past that tried to do, be a music game, and ended up being like a rhythm game, or a game where you just, even like Everyday Shooter, it's just like you're basically playing someone else's song kind of thing. So it's just, I think there's like a lot of marketing speak probably like.
You could call it play, create, share, or is Sony kind of moving away from that?
No, I just mean like when a music game gets marketed traditionally, it's like make your own music.
Yeah.
So we hear that as gamers now, and that's synonymous with it's a rhythm game. And I've actually seen a lot of press about our game refer to it as a rhythm game, which is incorrect.
Okay.
So I think like the vocabulary for music games just isn't diverse enough yet to really explain what our game is.
Yeah.
And so,
So what do
but
you
that's kind of
call
what's
it? Musical
exciting about it.
platformer? Is that what you like?
I just start with that because it gets the word music and platformer
In the same.
in the same thing, and it gets close enough, and then go from there.
Yeah. All right. What do you think is like the biggest misconception about the game so far?
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
What
I
do
mean,
you
I think
think?
there's a lot. Yeah.
I think it's hard to understand until you see it. Like if you really screenshots, it doesn't really help because it's one of those
Yeah.
games
Yeah,
where
that's
that
a good
doesn't
point.
really sell it.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things we've talked about a lot is like how do we communicate the idea of what's happening, because it's so, I mean, when you see it happening, it makes a lot of sense, but like we have to do a lot of things where we're trying to communicate with just still images or just video or whatever, and it's like how do we get the idea across of what the game's doing, you know? And I think that's been like one of the big challenges for us, like is to try and like get the core idea of the game across, and it's not something we can just, like John said, we can't just refer to another game and be like, it's like, it works exactly like that game, you know what I mean? Like, because it is kind of doing something, somewhat unique, so it's hard to communicate that new idea, you know what I mean?
Okay. So yeah, I mean, one of the big trends that I'm seeing at the show is standardization and how lots of platforms can play the same quality games. So, I mean, obviously you're published by Sony, but would you want to see this as a PS3 game as well? Like, do you think that would work?
What were we allowed to say from there? I think that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Nice. All right.
Thumbs up from off-screen producer from Sony Santa Monica.
All right, and then finally, we're talking to everybody. Just was there anything that you've heard of or seen at the show after when you go home at night on the internet, whenever a game at the show maybe that isn't getting as much attention and that you think should?
All right, we get to pimp Jake's game. Is that?
Yeah, man.
Is he
Okay.
giving us the opportunity to do this? Well, you should totally check out Skulls of the Shogun.
Yeah.
Because our buddy
Indicate
Jake.
section. Yeah, it's in the indicate section.
Actually, you should
Is it
just go
'cause
to
they made it, or
Indicate.
sell it. Why is it good?
I don't actually. We haven't played it.
Whoa. I've only seen the video. We haven't been able to get by, but like we've seen like it's like a strategy.
Yeah.
And they're the winner. They won
Best strategy.
best strategy game.
Yeah.
And I mean we've been running around sort of stuck in our sort of area, but even around us there's like Journeys pretty close
Oh, yeah.
by, and like
Bayon's
Bayon
game.
came by and did.
Have you seen So you saw Pixel Junk Lifelike?
We sort of saw it. He was like demoing it, like,
Yeah.
and there was like a camera crew around him, and we were just kind of like trying.
And then we had to do we had to shoot B-roll for something else. It's just it was
One thing I found interesting about that compared to your game is like you at the showcase you kind of encourage people to download levels and kind of make remixes of them and put them up. I think someone asked a similar question to Bayon for his game because his is about the musical audio canvas. He said he thinks players should own their creations, not have them tinkered with. I'm just curious, like how do you feel about?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably people that feel both ways. Like my background is sort of in doing some music stuff and working with other artists, and for me, it's like as a musician, one of the coolest things is when you give your song to someone that you that you respect, and like it's really exciting to get something back and see what they do with it, right? Like I mean, so for me, I think that's like a really fun experience. I mean, there might be people that are super, I don't know, like precious about the bass drum must never be moved. It must always be here. But I mean, for those people, they don't have to like share their, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can just sit in your house and listen to your stuff if that's what you want to do. So, but I mean, I think it's exciting I think the opportunity to like work with other people and like send what you're doing creatively back and forth is pretty cool. Yeah.
All right. And then is this the Vita launch game? Is that the goal?
launch window.
Launch window. Okay, so this year? Or, I mean, can you say that
When
much?
is the launch window? Is that what you're asking me?
I think they said holiday season.
Yeah,
I don't
they
know.
said-
What did they say in the press conference?
It's this year, right?
I think this.
Yeah.
Is this year in some part of the world at least?
We just make video games. That's all we do.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.